Story 1. Timeshare presentation. I got an amazing room and free breakfast at the presentation. I did not use any tricks, and after I said I was not interested, they let me go. Story 2. Taking the job that paid $30,000 less than the other offer. I knew the lower paid one would respect my boundaries and work-life balance, whereas the other one would overwhelm me. A very nice paycheck is tempting but can be a red flag if you are not looking to be owned by the employer. 2 years in, I still love my job. Story 3. Getting married young. I know it does not work out for everyone, but we have been happy for over 30 years. Story 4. Leaving the southern United States for somewhere cooler and less humid. You will hate the winters. You hate it now, but you will grow to miss the humidity. It has been 7 years. No and no. Story 5. My dad said I would regret playing video games and that I would grow out of it. However, I met my wife online in a game, and a good number of my friends and I bond over gaming, among other things. So, I am waiting for the regret to show up any day now. Story 6. Only having one child. When my child was little, I loved spending time with him so much that the idea of having more and having to divide my attention never appealed to me. Everyone said I was selfish and he would turn out spoiled, lonely, or a variety of other negative things, but he has turned out fantastic. He has done many things he probably would not have if we were dividing our finances. He is a teenager now, and while my friends complain about their teenage boys, he is my favorite human, and I still sincerely enjoy spending time with him. Bonus. He has an incredible vocabulary from spending so much time with me as a child. I have never regretted that decision. Story 7. Being a truck driver. I bought one at 19 and drove hard. Now I earn $300,000 a year. I have a new house, a large truck shop, and 380 acres of land. I am 35 years old, and by 50, I will be done. Story 8. Telling my supervisor exactly what I thought before resigning. Regret? No. Felt like the season finale of my life. Story 9. Not everyone, but many people undergo bariatric gastric sleeve surgery. I am 2.5 years post-operation. I have lost 200 pounds, and I feel like I have a brand new life. Edit to add. Some of your visceral negative reactions are part of the reason why I chose not to tell many others until I got close to my goal weight. The amount of misinformation and fear-mongering is staggering. We often say phrases like trust the science, such as with the coronavirus disease 2019 vaccine, but when it comes to treating obesity with the same consideration as any other medical condition, suddenly it does not deserve that level of care. Please examine your internalized fat phobia. Story 10. Tattoos are deeply meaningful to me, and I place them in thoughtful locations. I will never regret them. Story 11. Skipping my high school prom. Everyone told me I was missing out on a core experience, but instead I went to a house party and drank until I vomited red gelatin shots. 10 out of 10, no regrets. Story 12. Fighting for custody of my daughter and son even after I found out I was not their biological father. In the end, I lost, but I certainly tried. Story 13. Going in half on a brand new boat with my best friend. We co-owned it for a few years, followed all the rules we agreed upon beforehand, and never had a single argument over it. I have nothing but good memories of it. Story 14. Divorcing a person who was controlling and verbally abusive. They forced sex on me. I lost my career and all of my family, including my children and friends. But now I have a very fulfilling life with a partner who accepts me for who I am. I will survive. Story 15. Turning down a manager position at work. People said that it would be a career killer. I made it to senior engineer. Story 16. Getting bangs. I do not have them anymore since I cut my hair short a couple of years ago, but they never really bothered me when I had them. Story 17. Buying a house in 2022. People were telling me house prices were too high. I caught the last opportunity out of NOM with my 4.25% interest rate. Story 18. Cutting my biological father out of my life. Nobody said it directly, but I was 12 when I made that decision, and I could tell I was judged for it. Story 19. Getting a breast reduction. You'll love them when you're older. Boys will love them. There are women who would kill for what you have. No more neck and back pain, and I don't absolutely hate my body. Best decision I ever made. From 32G to 32B. Best decision I ever made. And I will stand firm on that belief. Story 20. Committing to my high school sweetheart. 12 years together, 9 years married. 2 children. No, it is not perfect, but we have made our own perfect. Story 21. Working instead of continuing my education, I make my own money and actually feel like there is some sort of purpose to my life beyond writing essays. Story 22. Fooling around at work. No one specific has actually said it to me, but there is a general assumption that those of us who do not want children will regret not having them. I am approaching 50 and have no regrets about not having something I have never wanted. Story 23. Living in sin. My parents said that if I ever lived with someone before I got married, the relationship would fail. 20 years later, we are still happily together. Story 24. At 23, I married my wife, who was 37 at the time. Everyone said I would regret it. 31 years later, I do not. Story 25. I grew up hearing that gay people could not be happy, that all gay relationships were toxic, that anyone who went down that path would live a life of regret for throwing away a shot at a good life or eternal life. Everything started changing when I was 18 and saw a middle-aged butch and femme lesbian couple in the waiting room at the doctor. They were obviously so loving and happy together, even in a stressful situation like filling out forms at the doctor. It suddenly occurred to me that maybe I had been lied to about what being gay is like. Now, as the approaching middle-aged femme in a butch and femme lesbian marriage, I can firmly say no regrets. Happiest I have ever been, even when we are filling out forms in a doctor's office waiting room. Story 26. Almost every life decision I've made, people have told me I would regret it. Don't pierce your nose. You will regret it. You need to have children or you will regret it. Don't move far away from family. You will regret it. Don't dye your hair. You will regret it. I am coming up on 40 years old. My nose has been pierced for 20 years. I still do not want children. I live 1,500 miles from my family. I have had hair every color of the rainbow. Absolutely no regrets. Story 27. Sitting cross-legged. I have been told since I was a small child that one day I will regret what it will do to my knees. I am in my 60s now with 0 knee troubles. It is the athletic people who are having knee replacements. Story 28. I cannot say everyone said I would regret it, but when I was a teenager, I was almost on a Nickelodeon television show called Big Time Rush. I am very thankful that I followed my instincts and told them no. They wanted me to change my image a lot and lose a bunch of weight. I was not really that heavy-set at all, and it just did not sit well with me. Story 29. Working hard. There are many memes about businesses replacing hard workers, saying you are replaceable, so never try, do the bare minimum. No one will reward you for working hard. The only reward for working hard is more work. I'm sure you have all seen it. For me, working hard at one company literally brought me the income to comfortably afford a house. At first, it was difficult because everything was chaotic. Stress was high. I worked on processes and organization for years until everything became manageable. Now I have an easy job. I find it easy, though others might disagree, with high pay and interesting work. All because I decided to care about my working environment and had the opportunity to change it. I do wish everyone had the same experience. Story 30. Staying with an addict. Right now, I am supposed to be hating my life and a suffering single mother, according to everyone else. Fortunately for me, he has been sober for years and takes care of me, the children, the bills, and the house. All of it. Story 31. Not having children. I am very happy with my choice at 42 and was finally able to get my tubes tied a year ago. Story 32. This is silly, but I remember people telling me I would regret skipping the high school prom. It has been 30 years now, and I have never even given it enough thought to feel regret. Story 33. Not pushing for any relationship with my parents even though they are manipulative and violent. I do live with them, but am soon to leave and likely never speak to any of them again, including my sister and 16-year-old brother. It is going to put me in a difficult living situation for a while, but peace of mind and control over my surroundings are worth any homeless discomfort. Story 34. I was supposed to regret listening to the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, Jefferson Airplane, and others because I would develop something called a tin ear. I never regretted rock and roll but never figured out what a tin ear was. Story 35. Nose piercing. For some reason, my whole family had to tell me how ugly it would be. I still want to do my eyebrow. Story 36. Estranging myself from my parents was the best decision I ever made. My whole life started improving that day, and I have never looked back. Story 37. Deciding to elope spontaneously with my boyfriend of 9 months. No one in my family thought it would last. Fast forward to 30 years later, and I am the only one who has not had multiple divorces. Story 38. Having children. I am 47, and not having children is the best decision ever. Many of my friends have their children over 20 years old still living with them. It would be nice if the dynamic were more like roommates than parent and child, but it is not. Parents typically always feel like parents to their children. So it is not an 18-year expense. For some of my friends, it lasts 26 years or more. Story 39. My marriage ended badly, but I have 3 children I love deeply and many cherished memories. Story 40. I dropped out of an Ivy League school last year. Everyone panicked on my behalf. How could I walk away from an Ivy League Doctor of Philosophy degree? Well, I did, and I have never been happier. Story 41. Going no contact with my abusive parent. My life has improved greatly, and I no longer have to worry about her continuing to abuse my children. Story 42. Skipping high school and college graduation. I thought it would be hot and boring. I was right, according to the people who went. Also, making up with my mom. I haven't talked to her in years, and I won't unless she takes the first step to make amends. I remember a few good times, but there were very few. Story 43. I'm trying hard to think of something to add. The problem is not that I make some poor decisions, but that I do not tell anyone in advance, so nobody gets the chance to warn me about them. I know if I had said anything in advance, I would definitely have been warned not to fly halfway around the world to meet a man I met online. The trouble is, not only did I not regret it, I did it again for another man. I do not regret that either. Would I do it again? Absolutely. I had the time of my life. Story 44. Being single. Relationships have seriously hurt me. Not dating has given me so much peace. Story 45. I got a puppy when I was 5 months pregnant with my oldest child. Everyone told me it was a terrible idea. We had 14 years with the best dog ever until cancer took her. She really was the best pet I have ever seen, and I miss her so much. Story 46. Cutting off my family for not accepting my biracial wife. They basically said I would regret choosing her over them. We have now been married nearly 22 years and are celebrating being grandparents. Story 47. Transitioning. My abusers told me everyone regrets it and even said that it would never be possible. When I was 16, I escaped to my father's house and we started the process. I never looked back. It is the best thing that has ever happened to me. I am 1,000 times more comfortable and happier than I have ever been. Story 48. 2 things. One was going into foster care and escaping my abusive family. There were issues there too, but I got out, was able to utilize foster care resources, and now have a chosen family. Also, transitioning. The best decision I have ever made for myself aside from leaving my abusive family. I am so much happier as a feminine male than as a girl trying to be masculine and miserable about it. Story 49. Getting divorced. The overwhelming consensus was that I should stay married no matter what, simply to avoid divorce. No regrets. I was in a bad situation. I have done just fine on my own. Story 50. My 19-year-old self got a giant forearm tattoo of a ladybug with geometric shapes around it. I feel kind of embarrassed about it when I wear t-shirts and have no other arm tattoos, but I also love it too much to get rid of or cover because it is so terrible and a funny story to tell. It was my first tattoo. I do not regret it even though it is goofy. Story 51. I hated partying when I was a teenager and in college. I just liked taking a book to a bench in the park and staying in. My high school boyfriend kept saying I would regret it for the rest of my life. I did not. Story 52. Dropping people who only loved the version of me that served them. No fight, no hate, just gone. Best move I ever made. Story 53. Getting my eyebrow pierced. Coworkers warned me not to, my friend warned me not to, my dad warned me not to. A stranger ahead of me in line to get a full back tattoo warned me not to. I have actually gotten it pierced 3 separate times due to freak accident complications, and I still do not regret it. Estimated time of arrival, what a weird thing to downvote honestly. Story 54. Getting random tattoos that have no meaning. I love my tattooed body and being able to take some parts of life not so seriously. Story 55. Moving out of Alaska. I grew up there, and many people who have never leave Alaska. I know many people who have never even been on a plane. Parents there also convinced their kids that the lower 48 states are evil and dangerous. In reality, Alaska has a very high crime and drug use rate, one of the 10 highest per capita in the country. When I moved away in early adulthood, everyone said, "You'll be back in a year, you'll see." I have never been back. I'm 33 now, and after living in 3 different states, I now live in Germany, which people also loudly said I would regret. I love living in Germany and know I will never live again in the United States of America, especially not in Alaska. Story 56. Dropping out of college. My best friend at the time, who had been for years, never spoke to me again over it. I was apparently wasting my intelligence and potential. I was failing miserably due to crippling depression and what I now know was undiagnosed attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. It has been 20 years and still no regrets. Story 57. Not going to high school prom. No one seemed to have fun from the stories, and years later, I am still glad I did not waste time and money on it. Story 58. Going to college and earning my master's degree. Everyone who laughed at me for doing it then either still makes the same amount as they did 7 years ago or went back to school in their 30s to get their degrees to advance their careers. Story 59. Not getting married or having my own children. I do not regret either one bit. I have witnessed almost 99% of all people I know regret getting married and having children. Story 60. This makes me conflicted. I have made some seriously messed up choices in my life, but at the same time, I cannot necessarily regret them because I do not want to go back, even with what I know now, which is not much. Would I be assured that I would not make more mistakes trying to do it differently? Story 61. Not having children. People told me that I am supposed to have or want to have children. They get upset when I say that, given my medical history, having children would be selfish. Considering everything they are likely to inherit, that is cruel. I will stick to cats. Story 62. My tattoos. I still love them. They give me much more confidence in my appearance, and I have an amazing job. Story 63. Oh my God. Everything being my fiancé, yes, that's probably my biggest one. But as a cancer survivor and someone who has children, tattoos, and made plenty of decisions people dislike, let me say I don't regret any of them. I live every day like it's my last. Story 64. Transition. It is funny how much cisgender people, even complete strangers who do not know you, try to block you from being yourself. Story 65. Sleeping around in college created good times and good memories. I picked up some skills my boyfriend now enjoys, and I know for certain that I will never wonder what else is out there. I know what is out there, and therefore I am sure that I do not miss anything with my partner. Story 66. Getting my Challenger. It is a limited edition. It is something I worked very hard for, and I enjoy driving it every single day. Story 67. Not having children, not attending college early, and avoiding massive debt without a clear goal. Leaving my hometown for California alone. So many experiences. I have followed my own path from the very beginning. Story 68. Buying a sports car instead of an economy car in 2019 was acceptable. However, I would not advise doing that now because car insurance for sports cars is very expensive. Story 69. My tattoos. I got my first at 16, and despite that I now consider it appropriative because it is kanji and I am white. I will likely do some kind of cover-up if I ever have money for tattoos again. I do not regret it or any of my others. They all meant something when I got them, and the changes I go through as a person do not negate any of them. Story 70. Tattoos, piercings, being sterilized. Mid-30s and still happy with all of them for now. Maybe in the future, but at this point, I do not see it happening. Also, reinstalling Tinder a decade ago and swiping right on an ex from many years before. We are happily married now. Story 71. Driving an electric vehicle. I am never going back to gasoline if I do not have to. It makes sense for what I have going on in my life now. Story 72. Having only one child, we knew what we wanted and we followed that. Many said we would regret it, but my husband and I are both only children as well. Our child often says she is very happy to be an only child. Story 73. Quitting a stable job with great benefits to protect my peace. Everyone thought I was nuts. Turns out peace pays better. Story 74. Going from non-monogamous relationships and saying I would never get married to marrying my husband within a year and a half of meeting him. We are going on a decade and a half, and he was the best decision of my adult life. Story 75. Edit. Too much information, but pretty much everything. Tattoos. Dropping out of college. I eventually finished. Focusing on my career instead of starting a family on someone else's timeline. There is much more, I am sure. Story 76. Skipping prom. My mother was upset about it at the time and thought I was missing out on some milestone of youth. Instead, my friend and I tried lysergic acid diethylamide for the first time and listened to music in the park. I would not trade it for anything. Story 77. Two people in 2020 told me not to get into the housing market in Australia because coronavirus disease 2019 inflated the prices and they would just come back down after it cools down. In 2025, I do not regret my decision to get a mortgage in a booming coastal town in Queensland. No girlfriend, no kids, no worries. Before anyone asks, yes, I am willing to die alone on my deathbed. Story 78. Having my children at a young age. I am now 37, and my children are 18 and 13. I have a strong relationship with them. Story 79. Not me but my wife. We moved in together before marriage. Her very Catholic Caribbean immigrant aunts all told her, "No, he will never marry you. You will regret this decision." Spoiler, we got married. We have been married for 13 years and counting. I suspect even they do not believe. He will never marry you now. All of my wife's siblings lived with their spouses before marriage, and they all got married. The aunts were well aware, but they needed something, anything, to latch onto so that cohabitating would seem like a bad idea. They had the conclusion, they just needed a reason to believe it. Story 80. Stretching my ears. I have heard everything there is to hear about having stretched ears. However, they were a great setup for some really nice conversations with people who would not have talked to me otherwise. This, in turn, led to some great opportunities. My job, my closest friends, my wife, finding my faith, and adopting my cat were all things that presented themselves to me because the conversation began with, "Your ears look cool." Story 81. Keeping my newly grown beard for my wedding. Everyone except my wife and grandmother wanted me to shave it. As usual, they were both right. I have not been clean-shaven since. Story 82. Facial piercings. I have had them for 10 years now, and I still love them. I have worked multiple high-level jobs in different industries as well. Story 83. Tattoos, piercing, sex and sex positivity, mental health medication. Basically all the things that religion tells you are bad but are actually harmless as long as you take care of yourself and others. Story 84. Going to my prom. I didn't have the money, I didn't have a girlfriend at the time, and I couldn't think of a single reason why. My best friend and I were heavily pressured to go. We didn't, and the school had a mild panic reaction, as not wanting to go to the prom was a concept they couldn't fathom and upset a few authority figures. Our parents did not care, but they got called by the school. You will regret this so much as an adult. This is the pinnacle of your entire teen life. They did not say those words directly, but it felt cult-like. No regrets, though. That was 38 years ago. The hell with them. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.